Welcome to the Love and Adventure. I'm Pastor Evans.
I'm Mrs. Evans.
Man, we're glad you're back with us. We've been having a good old time walking you through our relationship. We left you off at right after we got married. We were living married, is what the last title was, and we were trying to get used to this thing called marriage.
Right.
You know what they don't tell you?
That you don't feel married right after you get married?
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Like the next day when you wake up, you don't feel like wife?
Right. You don't feel married for a little while. I think people should tell you that before you get married so you don't feel like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Right?
I felt like I had party hangover. That's it.
Yeah, well, we didn't drink anything, so.
Right.
Kind of weird to have a hangover. Yeah. So in this episode, we're going to go through a few different things. We're going to start with house guests.
House guests.
Yeah. So do you want to tell a story or do you want me to tell a story?
So we were on our honeymoon. Yay.
Yes, on the honeymoon.
On the honeymoon, right? Where we left you off, right after having a fight, having a good time on the rides and all that great stuff, right? And I got a call from our brother. It was a family emergency, and we had to leave our honeymoon early.
Right.
So we left early, and then we went to pick my brother up, and he came to stay with us, live with us. Like 3 days after we got married.
Right.
House guests. We had gone on the honeymoon. We left the apartment that we were staying in at the time, a studio apartment. Like no rooms, but the bathroom.
Right.
And the kitchen, kind of.
Right. It was pretty nice, but it was a studio apartment. That's important for the story.
Right. With a Murphy bed.
Right. So we started our marriage with a house guest. And that was, I think it felt good, and you can talk to this too. I think it felt good to be helpful, but it was also a little stressful to have another adult because he was grown. He was 18, but he was technically grown in the house while we're still learning how to be married. Because remember, we just said you don't really feel married right away. So we're trying to figure all this out with another guest in the house now. So, and that was just the start of the house guest situation.
Right.
For our marriage.
Right.
Right.
And we say a house guest as if they were invited. They weren't necessarily invited, but it was a necessary thing that had to happen because throughout the first few years of our marriage, different parts of my family had to come stay with us for one reason or another, and it was a necessity. And I was happy to welcome them in. My new husband agreed, but I'm not sure exactly how he felt about it because he knew it was a necessity and there wasn't anywhere else to turn. But I don't think he desired it. I don't think listen, I come from a big family, so if you need somewhere to stay, you come stay with me. Okay, that's it. Now I don't care because my family ain't gonna be on the street.
Right.
But my husband, who had the perfect 2 parents, him and his sister, nobody ever had to even interact with them family.
Right. I don't think we ever had anybody stay with us when I was growing up.
Right.
Yeah. So it wasn't ideal for me, but you learn pretty early that when you get married, it's no longer like 2 families. This is your family now.
I mean, but you need to be for real.
I'm being for real.
I mean, but really, how did you feel?
I did not want someone else in the house. It didn't matter who it was.
Right.
I didn't want someone else in the house. I wanted to be alone with my wife in our studio apartment in our bed. That's what I wanted. Okay. But it was necessary, so we adjusted. That's how I felt.
But every day that he was there, how did you feel?
I mean, most days it was fine.
Were you at that point trying to figure out how to be a good brother-in-law? Because you always had a hard time you never really got the role of brother-in-law.
I don't know if I ever was like, I'll have this responsibility of being a big brother as much as I felt like I had the responsibility of being a good husband and figuring out how to be helpful to my new brother. Right. I don't know if I ever felt like a big brother.
Yeah, but one of my concerns during this time was that I could see that I saw you struggling to be part of a larger family.
Right. I struggle with that, with how to interact with people, just in general, and how to interact with family members, because they like everybody in your family was used to being part of this big family. So when you guys got together,
everybody, and we always treated everybody like family because we had practice. We had a life of practice of learning how to take people in and accept them as part of the family, and then just move forward.
Right. And
so one of the lessons that I learned was, because at the time it was really hard for me to see my husband struggling, because I expected him to jump into the role, right? Jump into the role as big brother-in-law, and take my brother under his wing. My brother was having a really hard time as a young man, having a really hard time. We had a really rough childhood, and I expected my husband to, just like I expected him to be my husband, I expected him to jump into the role of brother-in-law, and he was struggling in that, and I was getting angry because I was like, my brother needs a role model. He needs someone there for him, and like no one else has, and you were failing. And so I had to learn that, just like I was trying to become part of your family, that you were struggling to become part of my family, and because your family was so closed off to relationships, that it was going to be difficult. And that expectation that I had for you wasn't really feasible. That's just not who you're going to be. Not in my life, and not in my family's life. But that has to be okay. And so that's what I learned. That's the lesson that I learned.
What was
that
the lesson?
Sometimes the people that you marry are not going to, maybe right away or ever, be able to fill the roles that you expect them to fill.
My lesson for the house guest section of this episode, because it was more than just the one house guest, and we talked about that, is that you have to be able to adjust to your family. Right. And I kind of said that at the beginning. Like, once you get married, once you combine your life with someone, it's no longer her side of the family, my side of the family. That's not feasible, really. It's really just your family.
Right.
And for somebody like me, who had a very small family, who didn't really interact, it was difficult to make that adjustment, or to continue to make that adjustment. So my lesson is, adjust to your new family dynamic.
I mean, some things are just reality. Some things are just facts, based on your spouse's life experiences, where they are and how they choose to grow. And so I was grateful for what you could do, because you could have done nothing, and you could have been like, they ain't coming here, right? But that's not what you did. You chose to extend yourself as far as you could.
Right.
And I appreciate it.
Good.
On to our next section that we would like to share with you on this journey. So our next section is finances. Yay! So now we are back from the honeymoon. My brother is staying with us. Mind you, at this time, I think I'm working for the county still.
Yeah, you're still at the county.
So I'm working for the county. So my checks are coming fairly regularly, but they're really tiny checks. At the same time that I'm getting tiny checks, because I'm only working part-time and I'm full-time at school, he is working at First Christian.
I'm working at a private school. I'm as a teacher, 6th grade teacher in a private school.
Right.
I wasn't making much.
Right.
But I was making enough. But they were coming regularly, so it didn't seem too bad. And our rent was ridiculously low.
And it was ridiculously low.
Right.
And our bills were ridiculously low.
Right.
And so it wasn't necessarily that we didn't have income coming in. And it wasn't necessarily that we were living outside of our means, because I don't think that we were. But the issue was, it really hit me how bad of a money manager my husband was. Is that fair to say?
I don't know. Was I managing the money at that time?
No, but the issues weren't that you were managing the money.
Oh, the conversations about,
but
like, why are we paying?
The conversations were outrageous. Like, what?
Why are we paying this whole bill right now?
Yeah, like
I think that's what we were going through at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? Like, who don't pay their whole bill?
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watching right now probably don't pay their whole bill.
I mean, I don't know. Okay,
yeah.
but
I didn't.
I ain't never come across nobody who ain't pay her their whole bill. Okay,
yeah,
like that don't make no sense, and I ain't doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
And so we had some tension.
Yeah,
we had some tension. We had a lot of long discussions.
Yeah, yeah. In the middle of getting small checks and being supportive to each other and another person, and
right.
In the middle of all that, I'm trying to my wife is reprogramming my brain for finances, and it was hard. It was hard. It was hard to
It was ridiculous,
y'all. It was hard to adjust my brain to like fully paying stuff, because I had a not great idea about how it should be. All I knew at the time was if we paid less on the bill, we'd have more in the pocket.
Don't nobody do that. Listen, don't nobody do that. Okay? And if you doing it, then that's your marriage. Okay? God bless you.
We don't do that no more.
Well, we ain't do it in the first place.
Because
we don't have those conversations anymore.
I don't
Glory
suggest it no more.
Right?
Right.
And I praise God for His grace and His mercy, because that's what kept you.
Mm-hmm. That's what kept me. See how I should be doing. So listen, what I learned.
Okay.
In the finance area was that if you pay your bills, the bills are paid.
Right.
Right? So if you go ahead and pay what you're supposed to pay, as long as you have it, then they're paid. And then you eventually have more money in your pocket because the bills are paid. And you don't have the stress of the money manager or the one of you, because it's almost always one spouse in the marriage that is more financially adept. And then you don't have that stress on that person. And then now you could have a more relaxing marriage and love life, because when you pay the bills are paid.
Right. And so the lessons that I learned there is that everybody's not going to come into a marriage with the same financial ideas.
Yeah.
And you know what? It'll be good if both people come in with a strong financial backing, strong financial education. That'll be great. But even those people it'll come to an impasse on how they should spend their money and how they should save it. And so we're going to always have different backgrounds and finances. And it caused us a little bit of tension. Now, we didn't have a lot of tension over money, because we're not those people. We're really not those people. Right. And you were, after several conversations and a lot of my looks at you, you were, it was easy for you to say, you know what, I think you better take over the finances, which helped my control issues, as well as helped us keep a roof over our head and food in the kitchen. Right?
Right.
And then so that was my lesson. But also, we were in a unique situation, because although you were a money spender, you somehow held back. And then I wasn't a money spender. I was a saver. And so during those times, even though you wanted to spend more, I think that you didn't, because you saw value in having somewhere to live.
Well, I mean that too, but I saw value in the fact that I trusted your instincts and your understanding about the money.
Because I was making sense.
Yeah, but because once we had the conversations and I heard the stuff back, I realized that it didn't make sense.
Right.
It's just what I knew, and people come into marriages with what they know, right?
Right.
It was just what I knew, but once I heard that and allowed myself to be like, okay, you obviously know better, so I'm gonna let you do that. And I think that if, as men or as women, whoever has money issues, if we can do that and maybe defer or work together, then those issues become less of an issue. And then we talked about like what we can spend, what we shouldn't spend, what we should spend, and all those things. So it was just communication and like the understanding that, you know what, she's just better at it, so she should probably handle it.
And you know what? During the time It really helped us improve our communication with each other just in every topic. And it also allowed us to open up areas of vulnerability so that we felt safe with each other, so that we could talk about some other things that may have not been so easy to talk about.
Right.
And so it really helped our marriage move forward, even though it was pretty uncomfortable in the end. I mean, in the beginning.
Right.
Right.
The last section for this episode in our journey is sex after marriage. Now, we talked about sex before marriage prior to that, and one of the things that we recommended is that you don't do it.
Right.
Because it causes some concerns. Like it robs you of some of your learning once you are married.
Right. But we also said that it's best to not physically do it, but we also said that it's a really good idea to have discussions about it.
Right.
Like, like figure out what your experience is and the things that you enjoy, don't enjoy, and however you choose to discuss that. But just not doing it and not talking about it, bad idea.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to have discussions. You're both adults, hopefully. Everybody's an adult. And so you want to have these discussions so that you can move forward with confidence and comfort and security, so that when you do get married, you can move forward in that part of your relationship, because marriage is a lot of different parts. It's one relationship, but it has a lot of different parts. And so you want to make sure that you're taking care of each part of your marriage,
right?
So that there won't be any spaces for people to creep into. Right. And don't do it.
Don't do it. And the Bible tells you that once you become married, that you're not supposed to take breaks from having a sexual relationship, right? Unless you agreed upon it for a time,
right?
For purposes of prayer is what the Bible says. But there are probably other reasons that you may agree upon, like not having sex while you're married, if you're trying to grow, because those conversations that you have, that you should be having prior to getting married about sex and what you like, what you don't like, and what's comfortable, what's not comfortable, those are going to go on for the remainder of your marriage.
And also, it gives you an opportunity to discuss any medical issues.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's the time.
Yeah. You're talking about prior to marriage now.
Yeah, prior to marriage, but also it gives you an opportunity, once you get married, to discuss further medical issues and how they're going to affect that part of your marriage.
Right.
Because it may affect your part of your marriage. I mean, just something as much as like your wife and her menses, right? That can affect part of your marriage, as it relates to expectations of husbands or wives or whatever. And so you definitely want to have those conversations definitely before, and then you don't want to stop them, but you want to continue throughout your marriage. Yeah, because every marriage goes through different seasons.
Right, because what you don't want is to be uncomfortable in your sexual relationship in your marriage.
Right.
And having those conversations, though they may be awkward or they may be whatever they are for you at the time, you will do better about having those conversations than just trying to work it out while you're going through it. Because there's that added pressure, if you're trying to do your marriage right, that is. There's that added pressure to the relationship, because you want to be in right standing with your wife. You want to be in good standing with your husband. You want to have a good relationship. And if that part is having difficulty, it affects all the other areas of your marriage.
Right. And so 2 lessons that I learned here. 2 lessons that I learned going into our 22nd year of marriage. Okay. I learned this over time. I didn't learn it, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, 15. Okay. And so 2 lessons that I want to share. One is, if you are experienced in the area, you have to try to remember that you can't bring all of your experience with you into your marriage and think it's gonna work. Think that everything you learned, all the tricks and all the things, your spouse is gonna be like, yeah, okay, that's not gonna happen, bruh. That's not gonna happen, ma'am. Okay. And so you may have had previous experiences. You may have had experiences with your now spouse. And that stuff is just not gonna always fly once you get married. It's just not. And so the expectation that you're so experienced and y'all are gonna be hanging from the chandeliers may not be your reality. Okay. And then on top of that, I learned that it's really important that in this part of your relationship you have continuous like check-ins about what I like to call the red, green, and yellow light. About red things that you probably will never do. Green things that you're happy to do. And yellow things that may take you a little more time because you need to feel more secure, more protected, or you need more experience. And so you're going to come back to those yellow things, maybe, right? Or maybe some of these things will shift around according to where you are in your relationship. Green things may become red things. Red things may become yellow things. And so you definitely want to always have a check-in. Even me and my husband today, going into our 22nd year of marriage, we find ourselves in different seasons. And we have to do these check-ins. So it's important.
It's important. All right. So what I learned was that sex happens way before you get in the bedroom, right? So if you want to have a successful love life with your wife, then you have to do more than just be like, hey, let's go.
Right.
That don't generally work.
It may work.
It may work depending on the time, but it's not gonna work every time.
Oh no, bro.
Yeah, women are built differently. All right.
So but men are built differently too. It just depends on which spouse requires whatever they require.
Yeah. So sex happens before you get in the bedroom. You need to cultivate the other parts of your relationship so that part can be as enjoyable as possible. All right. So we've shown you our house hunting process. We showed you which one we picked in the last episode. Now we were excited and blessed to be able to watch our house get built. So we want to show you just a little bit of our house being built from the ground up. Enjoy.
So we just bought a house.
Yay. Congratulations.
I'm smiling under the mask.
Cheese. Okay. Here's our home tour. Kama's gonna give you the breakdown of where everything is.
Oh, okay. So all the way over there, that white covered piping, that's the kitchen sink. I think this other one right here is the laundry room. What is that? I don't know what that is.
That's the tub.
Oh, that's the tub.
And that's the shower.
That's the shower.
That's
Sinks.
the tub, that's the shower. Sinks.
That must be the toilet. That seems like that should be farther back.
That should
That's the toilet.
Way over there, huh?
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh,
That's
but
the
that
toilet.
way over there is the other bathroom.
Other bathroom, another toilet.
Way over there.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it.
Okay.
These are frames, chick.
Okay.
This wood.
So here we go. We are here, and we have the frame and the wood for our new house. Lot 98. Yeah. Here's our wood. Here's the husband.
Yeah, there I am.
These to you guys.
Okay. Here, me. Yay. That's our pile of house. And so that's the end of our journey today. We appreciate you guys being with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell. Bing. Also, I really appreciate you guys coming back. We've been away for a couple weeks. And so this is our first video for a few weeks, but I appreciate you guys coming back. And
that's it. That's all.
that's it. That's all. See you next time.